Hey guys, how y'all doing? I'm here to give you guys a recap on the new episode of Shingeki no Kyojin, or you could call it Attack on Titan on Season 3 and Episode 10. Now, this episode right here, we get to know a lot more about Kenny Ackerman himself. And to start things off, let's get back to this let's get to the scene where he was actually captured by a Titan, which is apparently controlled by a person named Uri. And we get to see to it that Uri decides to spare his life and ask him for forgiveness, of what the previous kings have done to the Ackermans. Your hate is justified. There's no way we could be forgiven for that, but I cannot die here. And he bows down in forgiveness and asks him for his assistance. Eventually, Ackerman, who is really surprised to see a king do that to some low trash like him, decides to help out. Eventually, Kenny would do things in the shadows, such as killing people who would pose a threat, or possibly just do murders in general for Uri, which is the person that he considers a friend, possibly, or a friend. Eventually, we get to know of Kenny's past, that he did meet Levi at the time he tries to visit his sister, which she is dead. And therefore, Kenny decides to teach Levi everything he knows, how to survive the underground. And eventually, after he sees Levi beat down some thug and then making him talk or possibly kill him or just beat him up in general, he left Levi. And eventually, as time goes on, we see to it that Kenny's friend Ure would have his time would know that his time will be up. Although the reason being is not stated, but we do get to know that Ure gets eaten. And we see to it that as the episode continues with its backstory of Kenny Ackerman, Kenny has been wondering to himself why power gives you so much strength here and there. And that is one of the reasons of Kenny's motivation to why he wanted power all along. Eventually, when he sees it in Ure and sees it in Rod races his child, along with seeing other people, he ends up realizing that they all had some kind of similarity. And it's not in terms of they all dreamt of power. No, there's something else behind that, which I will get to just a moment. But eventually, Kenny's backstory does end after he meets up with the anti-police squad, which he is in charge of, and gives him hope to know that there will be something of a grand dream to go for. And of course, a little bit to the present and how Kenny managed to escape, and eventually he is founded by Levi, which happened at the beginning of this new episode, and Levi ends up showing up after the end of Kenny Ackerman's backstory. Eventually, as the episode continues on with Levi and Kenny, we have to it that Levi goes with that much blood loss and the wounds you just received right now, there's no way to save you. Of course, Kenny Ackerman says, I don't know about that, because he had a Titan injection serum. He said he swiped off from Rod Race when he wasn't looking before he went off to do some jobs, or possibly do his job, and that's guarding the ritual what Historia was doing, possibly. But aside from that, we see to it that Levi says, you could have had time to actually inject that into yourself. Why didn't you do so right away? And Kenny's like, if I don't do this correctly, then whatchamacallit, I would end up like Rod Race, I mean, think about it. Rod Race took a sip from the Titan injection, and he became like that, and Kenny did not want to be like that, not to mention what's going on. And aside from that, Kenny, on the other hand, says, everybody is just the same in the end. And Levi's like, what are you talking about? And we had to it that Kenny explained everybody always had something to be driven by, when it comes to drinking, women, the king, worshiping God, power. If you can't, this is how people manage to move in the world. I mean, you have to be a slave to something, otherwise you won't be able to like survive, or you won't be able to like move on. And that is pretty deep. I remember reading this in the manga. It was pretty relatable because if you ever think about it, if you guys can even think about it, like people are a slave to something eventually. Like whether it be power or like strength or something of a dream that you're trying to achieve. If you don't have something to motivate you, how can you survive in the world? It is really dang relatable. It really struck me hard. But eventually, Levi doesn't care about that, or he does take that into consideration as a teaching from Kenny. But he therefore asks Kenny, like, why doesn't the first king want humanity to survive? Can you tell me that right now? And Kenny's like, I don't know, but that's the reason why the Ackermans opposed him in the first place of that. And we see to it that Levi asks a second question. My name is also Ackerman as well. What were you to my mother? And he goes like, you idiot, I'm just her brother, that's it. And Levi asks another question by saying, that day, why did you leave me? And of course, it does show when Levi beat up some thug or something, Kenny left him. Levi wanted to know, like, why did you leave me at that time? And therefore, Kenny confessed by saying, I couldn't be someone's father or parent, and I was never meant to be. Beforehand, Kenny gives the Titan injection serum to Levi and passes on in death. And Kenny can only look on, Levi can only look on in solemn expression, knowing that his family member, even though he also became a victim to him, dies in front of his eyes after giving him the Titan injection serum. But aside from that, we get to see Historia's coronation. She becomes queen on the walls, and we see to it that Historia wanted to do the killing blow because this will actually unite everyone else and it will work out. Therefore, we see to it that it does work, and Historia takes on advice from Mikasa to go hit Levi, and therefore Aaron's like, hey, you can't be serious, right? So Historia does hit Levi, and it was just so funny. She goes like, you got a problem with that? I'm a queen. What you gonna do about it, That was kind of funny right there. But eventually we see to it that Levi just laughs it up and smiles and thanks his subordinates and his friends for helping him out. And we see to it that there was a scene towards the end of the episode which is very, very important because I'm pretty sure all you anime onlys must be tired of this political stuff and not seeing a lot of action. Guess what? You're gonna get your freaking gift very soon, okay? So, yeah. Towards the end of the episode, we see to it that Reiner in his armored titan form gets demolished or gets beaten down. And it was up against a beast titan which is controlled by this weird old man or something with a yellow beard whatsoever. And we did see him in last season on the season finale of season 2 of Attack on Titan. That guy is gonna have a very big role to play. He did mention that like we will save Annie later. Right now we must retrieve the coordinate first. If we wait, they will come to us. Let's leave it like that, And the episode ends up with like that old man whatsoever with the bearded facial big bearded face, and then etc. looking down on Reiner and Bertolt, and that's about it. So overall in this episode, I thought it was pretty slick, not very cool. I mean, we got to know about Kenny Ackerman himself and what drove him to wanting to have power, etc. Not to mention realizing that everyone's a slave to something, otherwise you can't move on in the world. And of course, like the ending scene towards this episode with the Armor Titan and the Beast Titan whatsoever that the old man was controlling, etc. does have a fight, and he wins, and he says, let's get the coordinate first, then we can save Annie later. That I will tell you right now, etc. So I'm looking forward to like next episode, which I'm pretty sure it's going to be very important. I mean, like I'm pretty sure it's setting up for what's to come in the next event, and I'm pretty sure a lot of anime onlys are going to be excited about this, especially me as a manga reader. It's going to be really, really crazy. Looking forward to it. Until then, I will see you guys in my next video. So I'm Alpha Zero, people. Have a good day, and I'll see you guys next time, right? Peace out. Bye-bye.